Hey,
Hey,
what's up, man?
there he
Yo,
is.
how's it going?
It's going well. How about you? How's everything going over there?
Surviving. We had 3 days of snow last week, so that was wonderful.
Oh,
You
you're
know,
kidding me.
good way to finish March off strong.
For real. It's pouring right now, but that's the Midwest weather. You can't really expect anything.
Now, do you have that nice weather yesterday like Chicago had?
65 and sunny. Just how we like it.
Oh, amazing. So jealous.
Hold on. Can I stop you for a second? Look at that beard.
Dude,
Ladies and gentlemen, that right there is dangerous.
I decided I wasn't gonna shave until Corona was over. So
Okay, so you're going to be having that for a while.
yeah, so I think my mom's really hoping Corona goes quickly just so this goes away.
Yeah, I feel that. Oh, that's amazing.
All
Amazing.
right, so I was thinking kind of for the format, we just kind of go through your career from club to where you are now. You can tell us about yourself, things like that, and then have some questions from different people that wrote in, want to know specific things for you and about being a professional footballer, and then we can finish with anything else you want to add. Sound good?
Yeah, sounds good.
All right, sounds good. So introduce yourself, give us your background of where you grew up, club soccer and all.
What's up, guys? My name's Eric Leonard. I'm from Palatine, Illinois, northwest suburbs of Chicago, about a 35-minute drive. I grew up playing for the Chicago Sockers. Actually started with the Palatine Celtic when I was around 7 years old. Moved to the Sockers when I was U10. Played there for most of my career. And when I hit U15, that's when the academy started. So it became more of like a traveling based team. And that's when after the Sockers, Butler became an option, and that's when I started looking into colleges, and I made that jump to college soccer.
So just briefly talk about the kind of the route it took to get to Butler. What did that look like? Were you looking at a lot of schools, all of that?
Yeah, I think it's the traditional approach for any college athlete. Make your top 10 list of schools. For me, I remember as a freshman, I actually went to a ton of different collegiate combines and all those invite stuff. I went to as many as I could: Northwestern, Marquette, Indiana, and I remember that I went to an IU camp where before Butler was even on my radar, and that's where I actually met the Butler coach Snape. So that's how he became, quickly jumped to my number one, and from there it just turned into my academy team really helping out with, hey, we're playing in this state, because as a freshman, sophomore, you can't talk with colleges. A lot of the club had to do that work for me. But they'd come to the games and stuff like that. And, soon when I was a junior, we started talking and kind of sealed the deal.
So it was at that point you were committed to Butler and never really considered anything else at that point?
Yeah, it really for me came down to about three schools. It's ironic because they're all in the Big East. Actually, besides one of them, IU was my number one for a while. Yeagley, Todd Yeagley, fantastic coach. I've always wanted to go to IU, so that was a big one for me. But I also loved the feeling that Butler gave too, because it's a smaller school, and I knew that compared to IU, I'd have a bit more relationship building with everyone at Butler, right? Because Butler's 4,500 compared to IU, which is
Absolutely, yeah.
times as big. So Butler actually had my major at the time too. I was going into biomedical engineering. So everything kind of, the puzzle pieces fit, and that's when I kind of figured out at the end of my second year in high school that Butler was kind of the school for me.
All right, very cool, very cool. All right, so you get to Butler. I think one of the most interesting things to ask a player is you usually your first day of preseason camp and you have fitness test as like the number one thing. You don't know anything with the team. Give us a little bit insight into that first day of preseason camp.
Well, this is the irony behind this. Everyone who knows me knows I love running. I run, a lot in the midfield. My freshman year at Butler, we had to do a test called the track test. Now, I've luckily just gotten over my nightmares of this test recently, but it was one of those things you don't sleep the night before. And it's on a track, you're running three 400s, three 300s, 200s, and 100s in certain times. And I remember practicing the whole summer, freshman year, coming in, boom, failed it, beat one already, down under. So I was like, oh no, is this going to be the next 4 years of my collegiate career? But luckily, later that week I ran it again and passed it. But no, it's one of those things as an athlete. Fitness is always going to be one of the most important parts of your play. And
Absolutely.
I think for me going into college, that really set my tone passing it that second time, and I vowed never to miss that again.
Never did the next 3 years.
Nope. I was okay the next 3 years, luckily.
Incredible. All right, so talk me through kind of the college, the 4 years, your growth as a player towards that, how you started thinking about professional soccer becoming a realistic option, all that.
Yeah, for me, college was pretty tough because going into my freshman year, I played with three guys you'd recognize: Zach Steinberger, David Goldsmith, Brandon Fricky. All those guys ended up getting drafted after my freshman year. Actually, I had another year with David. But for me, seeing those guys that I knew, some of my friends on the team, that for me kind of set things apart. And I was like, you know what, maybe I have a chance in 3 or 4 years, if I can, become a better player. That opportunity is there, that door can open. So for me, at the end of my freshman year, I was like, you know what, we're going to do everything I can to get graduated in 3.5 years. So at that point, it was sitting down, making a spreadsheet of all my classes. How can I knock stuff out in the summer? How can I knock stuff out extra in the fall and the spring? And while that was going on, I obviously had to, the most important part, develop my game. And it's tough because I played 6 different positions in college. My freshman year, I played defensive mid. I moved up in between the 8 and the 10 as well. Yes, I played the 10 for a little bit. I know you guys are thinking, wow.
Is that game film burned or what?
Let me tell you, that game film is not shown anywhere. But hey, I had my moments. I had my attacking moments. But no, then anywhere in the back line as well. So any professional player will talk to you. You need to be very, very strong at 1 or 2 positions. So for me, it was like, okay, where are my best positions at? And I need to kind of zone in on those details. So we kind of established it was that 6, that defensive mid role, and center back. I played that 6 for most of my college. And one of the things that Snape helped me with developing my game was, the awareness on the field as a 6. You're the playmaker, right? So you have to understand where you are at all times, where not only you are, but your teammates are, how the flow of the game is going. So that was, something that really took my game to the next level over those 3 years. And then my senior year, was the first time that Snape actually put a 5'7", arguably 8 guy in the center back.
5'9" with soft grounds.
5'9" with soft grounds, baby. That's what I tell everyone. And that's where I, another one of my comfortable positions, playing in that back line. I think anyone who knows me, my strong suits are my defensive mindset and stuff like that. So that gave me an opportunity to, open up that door as well, in terms of getting ready for the next level.
Yeah, which actually has come in quite handy to have that experience, right?
Absolutely.
Now you suffered an injury in college.
Yeah, so
talk a little bit about that.
Yeah, that plays a big role into my my career as well. My end of my freshman year, after watching those guys get drafted, a week later, I actually tore my ACL. Not knowingly, because I went into a tackle on the side of the field, and it was one of those things you just kind of land awkwardly. And I remember going off the field and being like, everyone's like, what's wrong? The trainers were testing my knee. Couldn't figure out what was wrong. I was just like, hey, I remember talking to my buddy, hey, come here, just go into a tackle with me. Let's see if it works. Let's see if my knee's okay. So I remember on the sideline doing 50-50 tackles with my own teammate, and him being like, dude, you okay? And I'm like, feel great. So they wrapped my knee up, went back in for the last 20 minutes. The only problem was after the game, I was like, hey, listen, every time I jump up for a header and land, my knee pops out. I don't know if that's normal or not normal, but I think that's a problem. So long story short, ended up getting the MRI, tore my ACL, which is always tough as a first year in college after, you do all this work to get somewhere, and then you're like, is this all worth it? So I had a lot of questions, hard questions I had to ask myself for 30 seconds, because you can't spend that long, engraving and, all those negative, like, oh, am I going to come back stronger? Am I going to come back faster? All that stuff. for me, I knew at that moment my goals hadn't changed to play professional. So it's okay, now what's the next step? What am I going to do now to put everything in terms of one focus, getting back stronger, faster, fitter, so I can play, my next year at Butler, which is in turn next, one step closer to professional soccer. So it was that rehab, that very well, 3 hours every single day. It was not fun, man. Not fun at all. But at the end of the day, I wouldn't change anything. And you see in my life how that actually helped me, because if I hadn't torn my ACL, there's no way I would have graduated in 3.5 years. I wouldn't have been able to knock out those classes in the summer while rehabbing there. It's just not all the pieces would have fit the puzzle. And that's, what my journey's about. So far, everything's been put in the right place. Things that haven't worked out have opened up different doors. And that's why I'm so lucky.
Absolutely. Absolutely. Yeah. It's interesting how many athletes will say something like that injury in the moment, how devastating it looks, but how much it changes their whole trajectory of where they because of it. All right. So you graduate college, then talk about that heading into the professional ranks.
Yeah. So I graduated college, 2017, December. And that's when I started to go on trial with different MLS teams, different combines. Went to the Columbus Crew Combine. I went to Vegas, where there are a bunch of USL teams there as well. And it's kind of that whole period when I was it was new for me. I didn't have an agent. I didn't, my family, who's very supportive, we didn't know how this whole thing worked, so it was going through it for me. It was the first time. A lot of the things were unknown, question marks in my life. But I remember specifically going to each one and trying to make myself stand out, because at the end of the day, the only way you're going to get on the team is by standing out. So it was, one thing, can I be that guy who's the loudest on the field organizing? Can I be that guy who's the most annoying to play against? Can I make the most tackles? Can I win the most balls in the air? And it was for me, what thing can I do? So that went on for about the months of November and December. And then finally, after finishing that, came the draft. And that's when I found out, like early December, that I was going to be eligible for the draft. My name was getting thrown in. And I was super excited for that. So then that came around, and we've all heard the story of watching our, the draft picks come out. Like, is your name going to be there? And I remember, like, just like any other person who hasn't been picked up, I watched for the 6+ hours on a Friday and then on a Monday for the 4 rounds. And, unfortunately, my name was not called. And once again, I took the 30 seconds, was upset, etc. But then after the 30 seconds, it was, what's the plan? What's the next step? What is my overall goal? Was my overall goal just to play college soccer? Well, no, because I didn't just do all that work for that. And, what's my overall goal? And it's to play professionally. So I said, okay, what am I going to do? And I called the first contact on my phone, Brett Hall. And, Brett Hall very well. And for anyone who doesn't know Brett Hall is the coach of a semi-pro team called Bridges FC in Chicago. Does a lot of work. He has helped, thousands of kids get to the next level and develop their game. Called him, and about a week later, I was on a flight going to Australia, where I played my first 8 months overseas.
Yeah, no, it's I remember the draft. I remember that week for you, because we thought, there's a good chance you're going to get drafted. And I remember, the next day when you came back to training on Tuesday, it was just locked in focus. Obviously you were upset, but it didn't deter your motivation. I think those are, just like an injury, that type of a setback is, in 30 seconds it decides, how you react. Are you gonna go, and totally give up with what you got, or does it motivate you and push you even more? So, all right, so you get to Australia, 8 months there. Talk a little bit about that, and then what happens after Australia.
Yeah, so I played my first 8 months professionally over in Australia in the Gold Coast, which was incredible. I played for a team called Nerang SC, and the awesome thing about this is that they had an academy system tier to the team. So when practice schedules in Australia go year-round, they actually spread their games out over a longer period of time. So practices are 3 times a week. My club specifically had 5 days a week practices, plus an academy system where I could train with both them and the senior team, the men's team. And it's ironic because, once again, for players who don't know me, I wouldn't say my technical ability is my strong suit, but now after, years later, I wouldn't say it's the weakest part of my game either. And that starts with Australia, because going over there, I spent hours every day with the ball. And I'm telling you, when I went over there, I was probably one of the worst with the ball at my feet, going in, through cones, drills, etc. But the coach I had over there was just fantastic at developing my game in terms of that. And, arguably one of the reasons why I didn't get picked up in the draft was my technical ability. And for me, that locked in, laser focus was, I got to get technically stronger. I have to become more confident on the ball, not just my defensive ability. What can I do to take my game to the next level? So that's what the ring really opened up for me in terms of my game. And then I got to play 32 plus games over there as well, as a defensive mid, but also as an 8 and a 10. And getting to develop confidently on the ball as an attacking minded player gave me more confidence as a 6 in terms of looking forward, my awareness, my ball movement, etc. So that's why Australia for me was, a big turning point in my career. Even though it was the start of something new, it was a turning point for me, for sure.
Absolutely. And, you're playing 8 and a 10, which as a 6, you're often giving the ball to the 8 and the 10. So it allows you now to go as a 6 and understand a little bit better where to put the ball, where those midfielders are looking for that pass to come and all.
Yeah, absolutely. And, you can't, when you're in that 6 role and you're looking for that pass, you're relying on them to get to that position. But then being able to play that position and know where high level guys are coming here, Forward Madison and, beyond, helps to know where they're going to be, by playing that. You learn.
Yeah. So you get back to the States from Australia, I'm sure, with the nice, for you, considerably nice tan.
Listen, man, tan, sunburn, whatever you want to call it. Okay.
So you get back to the U.S. and then talk me through kind of the next stage, how you end up now playing in the U.S. and all.
Yeah. So I came back in August and I went on just tryout after tryout. I went to Nashville. I remember going there first, thought I killed it. Didn't even hear back for the second day. I went to, oh my gosh, where else did I go? I went to a couple different USL teams. I went to Birmingham Legion. Thought I performed well there. Got some good feedback and stuff like that, but just still not the right fit yet. And it's kind of funny because one of my last stops was Madison, and I was like, man, I just don't know if I'm about Madison. I don't know anything about them. And that's when I kind of got in contact with Peter Wilt, who's the founder of Chicago Fire, Indy 11. And he was like, listen, you should come to the Forward Madison tryout. I've just hired Daryl Shore. He used to be the coach of Real Salt Lake. He's done work with the Fire. Like, wow, sounds like a promising club. So I ended up getting actually a bit more excited before, going than I was originally. Ended up going to the combine, doing well and getting invited back to preseason. And I was like, okay, now now something's opening up, and now I have an idea. But a couple of days went by, and I ended up getting a call back from Daryl saying, hey, listen, we actually really want to sign you. And for me, that was once again a more positive part of my life. But took the 30 seconds. I said this was awesome, but now what's the next thing? I knew at that point it was going to be a tough decision because I had been talking to Forward Madison and Lansing at the time, Lansing Ignite, a younger team with a lot of our buddies who played there.
Yeah, a lot.
Xavier Gomez, all those guys, Grant Stoneman. And then it was like, man, that would just be so ideal for me, Or do I go to Forward Madison, which is not that it matters, closer to home, but under such an experienced coach with veteran players that I can learn under. But, I'm going to have to really, really work for my starting spot. So it was, I once again taking a step out of my comfort zone, decided to go to Forward Madison. And I'm so happy I chose that decision because last year I got to learn under, top level players, JC Banks, Don Smart, our captain Connor, just different guys on the team who've been and seen the game at higher levels and have been there and know where I want to eventually get to. And for me, that was just such a big point and such a growing part of my career.
Yeah, absolutely. I don't know if I ever told you that the Lansing head coach was my assistant coach in college for 3 years.
No way, Nate Miller?
Yeah. Yeah.
Awesome guy, man. And that's why the decision was even so much harder because
Yeah.
I really liked Nate.
And his assistant, Tim Daniels,
Oh, yeah.
he lived one floor below me in a college dorm. So
No way.
it is, but yeah, no, I mean, and obviously with them having financial problems and all, it's really worked out well that you went to Madison. Also, especially, you know, I think the last time that you weren't maybe the more experienced player was when you were underclassmen at Butler. So it had been a lot of years before now you are playing again with more experienced players than yourself and learning. And there's definitely a lot of benefit to something like that as well. So you play last year, first season with Madison. Talk a little bit just about off-season process, how you decided to go back there and everything like that.
Yeah, so after, you know, a good first year for me, it was, you know, I think I need to have another standout year in the USL League One if I want to make that jump to championship, if I want to make that jump to get an invite to an MLS preseason. So I had to, you know, answer those hard questions again and say, okay, well, I earned a starting spot, but what can I do to make myself to the next level? So now I've, you know, developed some 2020 goals. Okay, I want to be on, you know, the USL League One first team, you know, all first team or all second team. But what do I have to do? So I had to look at myself compared to other guys in the league and compared to championship guys. And one thing I noticed was, you know, as strong as I was defensively for our team, stopping plays, etc., I think one criticism I have is my speed of play. At times when I would win the ball for our team, I think that next pass is crucial. And I think over the course of the season, you saw me improve in terms of going forward, finding those key passes. But, you know, that's something now that I can just do like that whenever. And I think that just came with a lot more, you know, once again, confidence playing at that level, because it was even, you know, college, Australia, Forward Madison, you know, the levels become faster, the levels become higher. Now my speed of play has to, you know, follow along with it. And playing in all those games, the 30-plus games against big-time teams, it helps me and my confidence grow on the ball. So the decision to come back to Forward Madison in the offseason was a no-brainer for me. You know, luckily they picked up my option, and I was excited to be back. But now it was, can I take this year to have an even more standout year and to show everyone that wasn't a fluke, and that, you know, this is year number 2, and we have a lot of things as a team and personally that I'd like to accomplish this year. And that starts with, 1, winning a championship, but 2, being the best team player so our team can win that championship. And then for personal growth, how can my speed of play, how can my going forward with the ball, and how can I get my ability to get looked at by other top teams in the next level?
So you talked a little bit, you mentioned your self-reflection on yourself as a player. I was talking about speed of play, all of that. Yeah. How often do you as a player self-reflect? Obviously, I mean, every training, every game, you're self-reflecting on that individual thing, but on overall where you're at as a player and where you're trying to become, kind of talk through that a little bit.
Yeah, I think the last, I'd say 3 years of my career have been super important to me because I've started to watch soccer differently. I'm a City fan, so sorry for all the other people on the call. But, you know, I used to love to just watch the game and watch everyone playing, you know, when United, City, Tottenham, whoever the games are going on, they're super competitive, fun to watch. But now I actually watch the players in my position. How is he turning? How is he already in a half turn at midfield? How does he already know where that player is? How many times is he checking over his shoulder before he gets the ball? You know, what I need to do in terms of, okay, I need to make that a part of my game if I even want to get remotely close to the next level, you know? And so that's why I think for me, it started with 1, watching soccer, but 2, self-analyzing, like you said, after each practice. And obviously after games, we have the film that we can watch, but practices, you know, you don't. So for me, it kind of was just like, okay, I had to take the crucial points away from each practice to kind of figure out, was my speed of play good? If not, what do I need to do better, or what do I need to change in my game?
Yeah, and that's always advice I try to give younger players is when they're watching film. I think you know, when you're younger, you just watch the guy on the ball and, oh, look how amazing he looked with that. But
Yeah.
then, you know, I tell players all the time, what, in 90 minutes, you might have the ball for 2 minutes of that time. So
If
what
that.
you're doing, if that, so what are you doing the other 88 minutes and watching, you know, a soccer match, off the ball movement, everything, finding out how they figured out to go to the space where they received it, not just, oh, look, he has the ball, is crucial, especially for a 6 where you're playing in a lot of crowded areas in the middle of the field.
And I think that was big, especially for me this past year, because my positioning on the field is something that I was also hard on myself for, and I wanted to improve this year. But watching those high-level players and watching how they move off the ball for those 88 minutes is something you can pick up just by watching the game.
Absolutely.
Yeah.
All right, so we're going to go into some questions that people have for you specifically. I think the one that I got the most reoccurring is, obviously with Corona, all seasons are on pause right now. So how do you stay prepared physically, but then also how do you stay prepared mentally?
Yeah, I think in terms, it's just a lot of, you know, you got a lot of accountability. You got to hold yourself, you know, to a level that, you know, just because the coronavirus is going on, yes, you have to be safe. Yes, you have to stay healthy, but you can continue to do things. I mean, I'm running every day. I'm doing ball work on my own. I have to do it on my own because we don't want to be around other people, but I'm still getting in my touches every day. I've been starting to do more types of cross training to keep my endurance up. So running with the ball, you know, then, you know, reaction speed with band work, with hurdles, with stuff like that. And I think, you know, the more you can do that every day, every other day, and apply it to a habit. I've watched other players say it better than me. This is the separation season. You know, this is the time to make moves. This is the time to find out your weaknesses and to, you know, exploit them, go after them. And, you know, for me, if I'm talking about my weaknesses is my speed of play, or my weaknesses is my speed in general, you know, that's why I'm with bands every day. I'm working on flexibility. I'm working on stretching my strength in terms of being explosive. Just all those things. And now it's this coronavirus, in terms of my game, is a blessing for me to, how can I separate myself from others?
Yeah, I mean, you think about it as a player, it's like, when was the last time you had this many weeks off from playing? Can't
It's
even
crazy,
remember.
man.
Maybe
It's
12,
so
13
weird.
years old.
For real, though. For real.
But again, I think it's another moment in people's career where it's like, yeah, you can either stay motivated, take this opportunity to grow your individual things that maybe you haven't had time to work on in team settings, and you can really, you know, come back from this a completely different player, or a much improved player.
Yeah, for sure.
All right, then some of our younger young players trying to make it professional themselves. They're asking you, what's your greatest advice to give to a younger player?
You know, I think it's come down to, you know, one thing. I think it's just, you know, your cliche, how bad you want it saying, but I really think it goes one step deeper than that. I think you just need to, you know, to do something one day, that every day, that gets you closer to, you know, what you want to achieve. And whether that is playing on your high school varsity team, whether that's playing in college, or whether that's playing professionally, I think you need to write those things down. I think you need to put it on your mirror. What's, you know, one step closer to getting blank, you know, and that's your goal. And you have to ask yourself, what have I done today to get closer, you know? And in terms of me right now, I want to get to the next level. So I need to ask myself, what am I doing today to get myself, you know, to the USL Championship, to the MLS? And I think for any younger player, you guys have so much time that this is the opportunity that you have right now to spend more time with the ball. Spend time doing things that are not comfortable, because it's going to pay off, you know, further down the line. We talk about your left foot, or for lefties, your right foot. I mean, just spending more time with that. But I think, once again, it just comes down to one thing: how bad you want it, and putting in that work. Because you'll talk to a lot of players, and I've seen a lot of players who have talent threefold compared to me, but they don't make it because they don't have the work ethic. And you know, if you hold true to yourself for, you know, that mindset, I mean, you're going to achieve what you want to achieve.
I love that self-growth mindset, and essentially challenging yourself every day, making it a battle. Can you pick one little thing to improve upon that day? I think, you know, people look at like from where they're at to where they want to be is so big of a gap, but you have one day to just kind of chip away at that, you know, 0.5% improvement or whatever it is. And that builds upon itself over, you know, months and years of hard work.
Yeah. And I think it also makes a difference with who you surround yourself too, because I can't take credit for that mindset. When I was 16 years old, I was playing with you. I was playing with McGee. I was playing with all those guys at Bridges.
Yeah.
And those I saw those, Brian McBride, I saw that mindset in all those guys, you know, and you continue to have that mindset as you coach, right? So I can't take credit. You need to surround yourself by people who are going to hold you to that standard, you know, and that is a big difference.
Yeah. Yeah. No, absolutely. Absolutely. All right. Question. They want to know, what do you eat on a daily basis? And do you have some type of protein drink, something outside just your daily intake on food?
Yeah. So I've actually been researching a lot in terms of smoothies. So like I've really just gotten into the smoothie train. And I'm talking about like morning smoothies in terms of fruit, your fresh fruit, you know, banana, strawberries, blueberries with some whey protein, or after a workout as a recovery shake. But I've also done stuff like almond milk with like brown sugar, oatmeal, nuts, etc., dark chocolate, and cacao smoothies as well. So like I've really gotten on the smoothie train because I find, one, it gives me like quick energy, and two, it can be good for recovering after. But three, it's not as heavy as other meals as well. So if I have a late breakfast and I want like a lighter lunch, or vice versa, you know, a smoothie can give you all those nutrients. But in terms of what I eat, man, you know, that I'm a big chicken guy. I love beef too. So I'll make burgers, a ton like that, but pasta with meatballs and stuff like that. But in terms of my snacks, wow. If I'm going to hold myself, if I'm going to be honest, my favorite snack, my favorite healthy snack are elements. My favorite cheat snack are jalapeno chips. You know those jalapeno Lays or whatever?
Oh, yeah.
Bro, those are fire. Absolutely fire.
But mine might be those Dorito, the purple bag.
Oh,
it's like
yes, those
sweet
are good
chili
too.
or whatever.
Those are good too. And I have a sweet tooth, so I love ice cream. I love candy, but, you know, I have to do a good job of, you know, withstanding that. So once again, I try, if I'm going to have a treat, I try and make it dark chocolate, right? So I try and do stuff like that. I've tried to stay off the candy patch for a while now. And it's tough, but once again, you know, if you want to be that next level, you really got to be hard on your diet. You really do.
Yeah. Yeah. Taking away the short-term pleasure, immediate gratification for the long-term goal or whatever.
I promise you, when I'm 60, I will catch up with all the stuff I missed. No problem.
I mean, you see that with a fair number of professional athletes after they retire.
Yep, absolutely.
All right. For you, just in your thinking back your entire career, what's been the biggest kind of adversity that you overcame?
I think one of the biggest was tearing my ACL my freshman year, but then my sophomore year, tearing my MCL in the same knee. I think that was pretty tough for me because 2 knee injuries on the same knee can be quite, you know, devastating mentally. But I think that helped me grow stronger as a player in terms of, you know, staying focused on what I wanted to achieve. One, and then two, I just think I've had so many coaches and so many players I've played with that, you know, have said I'm just not going to make it at the next level because of my, you know, my technical ability or whatever, you know, the reason is. And, you know, this is just, you know, in hindsight, any younger player, you know, just because someone tells you you're not going to get somewhere, I mean, that should just be fuel to the fire, man. I mean, for me, I think about all those times someone said something and I want to go up to them and I want to say, thank you so much, because without you, I would not be where I am. You know, you have helped me, you know, have a driving force. You have made me more motivated than ever to get to that next level and prove you wrong. Not because of you, but for myself.
Now you do have some free time. You could possibly write postcards of, you know, have those delivered.
But Matt Poland, ladies and gentlemen, of course he's gonna say something like that. Oh man.
You know, let him know you're thinking about him during this time.
For real, I know. No, that's hilarious.
All right, now Dimitri asks, I don't know what this is, but Dimitri said if you could say the riddle that you had about him.
Oh, shout out Dimitri. So we did a bunch of riddles. He's a big riddle guy. It's just an inside joke, but it was basically he was giving all these riddles and he thought we couldn't figure it out. So I made a riddle describing him, and it took him like the whole day to figure out. So it's nothing too funny, but team got a couple jokes out of that one.
I had to ask. Well, do you have anything else? Final thoughts? Anything you want to add? Something I didn't cover you wanted to say?
I don't think so. I just, once again, there's so much time right now for all players, who are trying to pursue the game, and, coaches too. Just learn as much as you can. Take this time to go back into old game, go back into old film, and, once again, make this your separation time, because you're not gonna, I don't think we're going to get an opportunity like this later down the road.
Yeah, I hope not.
Yeah, for real.
I hope we don't have something like this. But so now it's just trying to kind of, keep players motivated as they have to train alone. And, because we won't, when season starts, there won't be much time to have a preseason before games start flying. So kind of got to stay self-motivated and stay ready at this time. So it's a challenge for everyone. But it's sad too, because, you get into a sport like soccer partly because of the relationships and all. Yeah. Now when you're not with anyone, it's a much different sport than going to training and competing with your friends and your teammates every day. So
yeah, absolutely. That's why we're hoping this thing gets cleared up, relatively soon.
Absolutely. Have they said anything about when they're thinking for you guys?
Yeah, they just pushed the new date back to April 30th. I'd imagine it'd be probably past May too. So talked about, ending anything. So I'm hoping to see some playing starting early June, maybe July. Once again, though, we're just trying to stay ready because they could change it at a moment's notice.
Right. Yeah, we're right now, we're at about the end of May that they're saying. But again, it's like, it fully depends. It can change either way in 2-3 weeks, depending on how it goes. So
yeah, it's a tough one.
But all right. Well, thank you. I will put this link up as well on YouTube so that people can come back and watch it, hear from a great player about his experiences. So thank you for doing this.
Yeah, I appreciate it, Matt. Thanks for having me. It's great to catch up, and I hope you stay healthy and everyone's okay over there.
Absolutely, man. Have a good night.
All right. Talk soon.